Okay, be able to list some of the arguments for the primacy of the Roman bishop. Several biblical arguments. Matthew 16:18 through 20. This is where Jesus says, "On this rock I will establish my church." Also, there's evidence of Peter in Rome. For example, when Paul writes in Romans 15:20 through 22, "And thus I aspired to preach the gospel not where Christ was already named, so that I would not build on another man's foundation," assuming that he's referring to Peter in Rome. In 1 Peter 5:13, I don't really understand this, but your sister church here in Babylon sends you greetings, and so does my son Mark. Peter was writing that. I'm not sure what it means. I guess, yeah, so Babylon refers to Rome. Legend has it that Peter was crucified upside down on Vatican Hill. All right. Be able to list some of the ways that Islam impacted Christianity. There was loss of major Christian holy places, loss of Carthage, origin of Latin Christianity, opposition to Christianity in Africa, Spain, Persia, and Eastern Europe. Christianity spread instead along north-south axis, British Isles, Frankish Kingdom, and Italy. Separation of Western Christendom from Constantinople. Ultimately, the Crusades. Those were ways that Islam impacted Christianity. Be able to discuss the periods of the medieval era, including the dates, the beginning and ending milestones, and one event that occurred during that period. There were three periods, the early, middle, and late periods. The early period was from 451 to 800. This is from the Council of Chalcedon to Charlemagne and the formation of the Holy Roman Empire. It included invasion of barbarians and reordering of society with new people groups. The middle period, from 800 to 1215, went from Charlemagne in 800 to the Fourth Lateran Council in 1215. Included the Great Schism between Western and Eastern churches, and external and internal conflict for the Catholic Church and for the empires. And now finally the late period was from 1215 to 1453. It went from the Fourth Lateran Council in 1215 to the fall of Constantinople in 1453. It included signing of the Magna Carta in England and beginning of nationalism, and was the dawn of the Reformation. Be able to list some of the positive dimensions of the feudal church. These included that the church was only significant educator, and it influenced literature and legislation. It injected Christian values into knightly system of chivalry, and to a small degree inhibited some warfare, truce of God, cessation of warfare on Sundays, Advent, and Lent. Alright, so this included arguments for the primacy of Rome, some of the ways that Islam impacted Christianity, the periods of the medieval era, the early, middle, and late periods, and the positive dimensions of the feudal church. Okay, this is the very last thing. Be able to identify the issues of the following councils. There were three councils: Constantinople II, Constantinople III, and Nicaea II. Constantinople Part 2. Following Chalcedon, many Alexandrian Christians were dissatisfied with the definition of Christ as having two natures. Justinian called Second Council of Constantinople in 553. The Chalcedonian definition revised in line with Cyril's Alexandrian view of mystical union of divine and human in nature of Christ. Debate shifted from Jesus' nature to his will. In Constantinople III, the debate was between monothelites, one will, and duothelites, two wills. Monothelites agreed to two natures but only one divine will in Christ. Duothelites claimed that two natures meant two wills. The Third Council of Constantinople in 680 to 681 reaffirmed the Chalcedonian definition that Christ has two distinct natures, but it amended the formula to include two natural wills not opposed to each other. The human will follows the divine will and is subject to it. Nicaea II, debate over use of icons or images in worship. Iconodules, incarnation meant that divine was joined to human and should be represented in visual art. Iconoclast, disapproved of any visual art depicting Jesus. Images are idolatrous. Islam condemned depicting God. Images impeded conversion of Muslims.